We have a panel coming up next. This panel, the topic is going to be Exceptional Story, the Break Free Heroes. So you're going to learn from different panelists about what they have done to rise above various challenges that they've had in their life. I'm going to let Seema introduce or run the panel, but I'll tell you a little bit more about who is on that panel at the moment.
Great, wonderful. So
Hey,
thank you all for working with us on that. And these are our wonderful authors. And I'm so honored that they said yes to me and were part of this book. And this book has totally really has been very special from the very beginning. And for those of you who believe in consciousness and believe in the universe and energy, I totally do. I'm very spiritual in that way. This book had a very strong conversation with me and telling me who it wanted and how they wanted. If it was up to me, we would have had minimum 30 co-authors, because that was a response I had. But the book was very selective in making and choosing who should be here. So we're all, I believe, divinely integrated and have been divinely called to be part of this book. I'm going to start introducing the authors, give a little background of each one of them, and in no particular order. So first one is Karen Wright. Karen is adventurous, spunky, zest for life, would be best described as very raw and authentic author. Life experiences has taught Karen to let her light shine, understanding how precious every day is. Karen is now a passionate author, speaker, healer, and savvy businesswoman. She enjoys giving back to her community and building lifelong relationships. A mother of 3 adult kids, angelic daughter, and grandson. Karen calls them her treasures. Welcome, hi. Karen. Next one is Yvonne. Yvonne, okay. You want to raise your hand? We'll give away. Yvonne's passion is to assist women to personal healing, successful relationships, and joyful living. She faced the challenge of bringing together 2 cultures and 2 religions in her marriage while adapting to the American life and raising blended family of 6 children. Her focus has always been on loving everyone she meets. Her focus is on loving everyone she meets and helping them to be their best self. She's an intuitive healer, guide, teacher, and first-time author and inspirational speaker. Welcome. The next one is Ariel Bickle. Ariel, please wave. She's a visionary rebel. She embodies paradigm shift through her work and play as transformational coach, speaker, and best-selling author. She's a shameless advocate for people empowering themselves, using her fiery compassion and wisdom to guide them in their journeys to rediscover and reclaim their joy. Ariel's hot Becoming Fire offerings, including the Awakening Activist and Playing with Fire, will be going live later this spring. Next one is Sharon. Sharon Karen. Sharon is living her life's passion, helping those in difficult times to find a path to live from a deep heart-soul connection. After hardships, divorce, broken neck, she shares her success with you working in your Akashic field. You'll find answers to life questions and rise above adversity with her guidance and supportive tools, resulting in your most happy and fulfilled life. The next one is Upendra Giri. Simply put, Upendra is a transformer, a pioneering organizer, coach, and trainer, and one of the reputed and influential business thought leader. He helps senior executives from the Bay Area to Bangalore transform their organization to achieve more innovation, collaboration, and business agility. He's a recipient of the prestigious Eric Dennett Award by Project Management Institute. Upendra is CEO and founder of Uplift Global, founder of trustee of PMI North India chapter, and is a charter member of TIE, the Indus Entrepreneur. And next one is our wonderful Laurel Harris. Laurel Harris is a successful actress whose extensive acting credits include ABC, NBC, and Disney. and feature films with stars. Stars, Paramount, and Fusion. She's also an award-winning writer, producer, garnering an Emmy and multiple Laurel, you'll have to explain what NATOA is.
NATOA.
Do you want to share? NATOA, okay.
NATOA, yeah.
And Telly Awards. As a producer, Laurel's worked with many notable figures, including Nobel Peace Laureates Archbishop Desmond Tutu and His Holiness the Dalai Lama, traveling the world to film their stories and work alongside teams from BBC and PBS. She has developed a passion for creating film content that highlights underserved populations under her Laurel Leaf Productions banner, set to launch this year with creative, empowering, and inspiring stories less often told. For more, we can go to laurelleafproductions.com. Next one is Ashima Giri. Ashima is a UX designer, student, writer, and a clothing brand owner, Don't Die. Her mission is to spread awareness about mental health and suicide prevention. She wants to help break the stigma and make real change in the world. Ashima, I hope you waved. Okay, next one is Marsha Golanko. Marsha is an author, speaker, consultant, and social entrepreneur. Her mission is to promote the harmonious world that works for all. Since 1988, Marsha has used her Feng Shui knowledge and wisdom in helping her clients create favorable and healthy living environments for the highest quality of Jinsen Mei. Truth, Goodness, Beauty. Marsha is the author of the Power of Feng Shui trilogy, and she received numerous awards for her community contribution. She's received numerous awards for her community contributions, including honorable mention Martin Luther King Jr. Humanitarian Award of the Year. I just got a message that my phone camera is visible, and that's okay because I'm reading directly from here. I want to make sure that I get everyone's bio correct. So thank you for letting me know. Next person is Mr. Sunil Cherian. Please wave as I call your name. Sunil is an ecosystem builder and an entrepreneur. He is also a mentor to faculty and students at College of Engineering, Trivandrum, and an advisor to many technology startups. He is a CEO and co-founder of Copperwire Systems, an enterprise application software company leveraging blockchain technology. He is passionate about personal finance education and creating new job opportunities that help people step up to a new level. Next is Una Lapin. Una is a connector and an educator, speaker, storyteller, writer, poet, and an international humanitarian. She is married with 2 boys and currently lives in Ireland. And the next one is okay, so the next one is Nischal Goswami. She's not here with us right now because during the process of when we were writing this book, she was fighting with cancer and she passed away. So we're really honored that she was part of this book. Nischal and I have a very special relationship. We have known each other for 29 years. She was also my sister-in-law. And she was the one person that really accepted me for who I was. No judgments, no expectation of anything other than just being with me. She worked as a human resource director, and she had this unique ability of connecting with people really well instantly. I felt a little jealous when we were at her funeral, when everyone, almost 500 people attended, and they said I had that special connection with her because I thought it was just me. Although we did have a very, very special connection. It was amazing to see how one person could touch so many hearts and everyone felt that way. To express my love and affection for her, I wrote a poem within the first hour that I found out that she passed away. We were still here. We arrived one day after the cremation. So I just want to take a minute to share that. We all knew there would come a day when God would come to carry you away. It doesn't make it easier to say goodbye. It can't help. I can't help but feel defeated or even maybe a little cheated. But how very selfish would I be to hope and pray you could stay with me? 10 glorious years we spent together, sharing dreams, fears, and aspirations with one another. Holding hands for courage and comfort, we embarked on new adventures, some alone and some together. You were the only one who accepted me as I was. You were sick and tired, and we all knew that God would come. You were sick and tired, and we all knew that God would soon come to take you. You fought so hard, so very long, but through the pain, you stayed strong. So as you laid there, tubes running to and fro, I had to tell you, it's okay to go. And not only me that had to tell her that it's okay to go, but the rest of the family too. So I just would like to take a few seconds to have a moment of silence in her honor as one of the authors. Thank you. Thank you. Today's going to be an emotional day because it's peace, love, and unity. We're all going to be sharing some stories. Authors are going to be sharing some stories that are really going to touch your heart and have moments like this where there will be tears. And we are just going to be open and vulnerable to you. And just be natural and authentic. That's who we all are, and that's what we're here to give, because I think that is the best way you're going to be able to connect with us and learn. The next author is Debbie Campbell. Debbie is an amazing woman. She is here in California, and not only is she works, has a full-time job, but she spreads sparkle everywhere through her jewelry business. And she just makes sure that everyone sparkles and spreads her love that way and gives unconditional love. So I'm just going to ask a few questions with some of the authors. We're going to hear from some of them this morning, and then from the rest of them in the afternoon, and some are going to be on the panels as well. So you're going to be hearing about them throughout. Debbie, and before we get started with the interview, I would also like to introduce Karina Aragon. She has been with us. This is the second time around in this. I'm so sorry. I'm just losing my thoughts. I'm still emotional from earlier. She was a co-author in my very first book compilation, Break Free to Stand in Your Power. And I'm so honored that she's with us again at this time in Peace, Love, and Unity. Karina, would you please introduce yourself real quick while I grab a glass of water?
Absolutely. Hi, my name's Karina. This is my second anthology and co-author status. I'm so happy to be a part of this with Seema. Seema has been such a great person to work with and to really help us have our voices be heard in our story. And I'm honored to be here for the second anthology and the second international's bestseller. So thank you, Seema, for having us and putting this all together.
Wonderful, thank you.
Karina,
So
I,
Karina, let me start with,
oh, I
let me
have,
start with you.
go ahead.
I'm sorry?
I was going to say, I have Karina's bio if you need it, Seema, but go ahead.
Okay. Karina, this year, I mean, this is still a brand new year, 2021, and there's so many expectations for this year. What are your plans for 2021? What do you hope to get out of this year?
It's been, you know, a long 2020 process. I had lost my dad last year, and for my first book launch before it launched, and now this I feel like I'm getting like a second chance to really be present with the excitement of launching another anthology. As far as 2021, and the new year for me begins on March 20th, because that's when the sun enters into Aries. It's spring. We're also now in the new Chinese New Year of the Ox, which is pretty awesome for us monkeys. So I'm really excited for that. And I would like to manifest being more present on social media, doing more video content. And I just signed up for a course with a highly successful coach that has like all kinds of content. So I want to manifest the workshops and course material that I had in real life online through Teachable. So those are the things that I'm going to be working on. The second Aries season starts. I'm allowing myself to be present and letting go of everything that I went through from 2020 and the things that I've already been learning just in the last couple months of this new beginning of 2021. So yeah, I'm super excited about my online courses and helping teach people how to read their astrology chart, learning how to evolve and work with the lunar cycles, and how to be present and like having self-care and self-love so you could then have better authentic connections in your life with your relationships and partnerships. So I'm really excited about that. Thanks for asking.
Wonderful, wonderful. I see Mehak Giri as an attendee. She is Nishal's daughter. Ashima, what is the significance of the book's title, Break Free to Peace, Love, and Unity, to you?
Hi. Love, unity, and means a lot to me because in the past year since COVID hit, it was really hard for everyone to embrace and love one another because they were really focused on, trying to survive. And for me, it was hard to not only love myself and love others around me. So this means a lot. This book means a lot to me, so I can appreciate the ones around me, appreciate myself, and unite with the co-authors and come up with good content. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. And I would like to say that Ashma is not even 21 and she's already a 2 times Amazon #1 international. I think that is an amazing accomplishment, which, sometimes we don't realize what we've done. Mehak, thanks for joining us. Please join us with video. Yvonne and Karen, why don't you share what is the significance of this title to you both?
Sure. Peace. I feel like the world is in so much unrest. There's so much going on. So peace coming together in peaceful ways, creating unity, creating partnerships to help each other and to find solutions for the problems that we're facing in the world. That's like so essential to me. And yeah, that's really important. And it always begins with myself. I have to be peaceful within myself first, and with who I am and what I'm here to contribute, in which way I'm here to contribute, and have that self-love first, have that peace within me, have that unity within me, so I can go out in a powerful way to make a difference and then connect with others. So that's what this is really for me all about.
Okay, and
Wonderful.
Karen here. I love Yvonne. She does such a great job. All of you guys are amazing. So the title, Break Free to Love, Peace, and Unity, or yeah, love, unity, and peace. The part that I just grab onto is to break free. To me, freedom is just the most powerful thing an individual can have. And in order to break free, you're allowed to love. You're allowed to have unity, first with yourself, like Yvonne was saying, the oneness, and then be able to share that with others. And then that peace that you get, because you're free to choose how you're going to live your life. You're free to your truth. And to me, it's so empowering. So even the whole book, the name of the book was an inspiration through this time with the COVID and everything that's hit. And I'm amazed. I'm just so excited about all of this. So kudos, did great.
Thank you. Thank you. And so did all of you. So Debbie, tell me one of the highlights you had while writing this chapter.
Well, I definitely think it was timely in the world today. And for me, what stands out is just love, because I'm a loving person. I love loving others, but it's also something I feel like we chase sometimes in life. So I love to be able to share a little bit about my grandmother's story, because she was definitely my rock. She gave me unconditional love in my life, where I didn't feel like I got it from anyone else growing up. So it was just, it connected me with her. She's been gone for a while, but she was just such an influence. And I felt like I could honor her and tell, it was more her story than me, but it's connected. And I loved it because I just felt more connected. And I really was happy to share a little bit about her from my perspective. And I think even some of my family probably will be a little bit surprised maybe. So I just enjoyed the opportunity, and as my first time being a published author. So I was just really excited to be a part of this, and it's just very special and very empowering. And I'm going to also say thank you so much for doing this and bringing us together. It is fortuitous, it's meant to be, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
And you went to love all of their stories, but like Debbie was saying, it's all about unconditional love, and it's so wonderful that we can experience that. Mehek, I don't know if you can join by video or not, but let me ask you this, the next question. You actually wrote the chapter on your mom's behalf. What was the highlight for you as you were chronicling her life? You're still on mute. Okay, so while we're waiting for her, I'm going to ask Sunil, what was one highlight for you while you were writing the chapter?
So the book, it was pretty timely, especially considering what we were going through last year. Right? So in terms of what's going on in the world with the COVID, political changes, etc. So I was reminded of David R. Hawkins' scale, where we talk about different emotions and how vibrations affect that. So at the lowest levels, you have shame and guilt and apathy and grief and fear. but love is kind of like at the level where you start getting beyond it, right? And that's at the level of 500 when shame is at 20. And peace is at 600 and 700 is at enlightenment. So peace, love, and unity, in my mind, kind of starts helping humanity kind of move towards that. And my chapter itself talked about how to let go of some of the lower level emotions. So that was great timing, amazing. Thank you.
Wonderful. And then we're going to take on two more, and then we'll hear from the rest of the authors a little bit later. Mehak, are you ready? I think she's having some connectivity issue. Sharon, what was the highlight for you when one highlight, please share one highlight as you were writing this chapter?
Well, Seema, I have to thank you for, first of all, that I met you. I am so happy and grateful, and that I had this opportunity. I had wanted to write a book for a very long time, and just couldn't find the time with COVID and all of that. So actually, I thought, okay, I can write a chapter. So when I sat down and you said, just tell me your story. And it's like, gosh. So I actually got to go back to when I was a little girl and really remember all of these parts of my life that I really hadn't thought about in a very long time. And the different things that I went through in my life, and then how I ended up here. And that's what I just absolutely, it was quite a journey. There was a lot of healing. I feel a huge transformation in my life going through the experience. And I so thank you for that. What I have learned in my life is we come in, we really are all connected. We're all connected, and we're connected with everything. Only we forget, or things happen in our lives that we feel separate and disconnected. So the title of the book, as soon as you told me what the title was, I knew that I had to be in it because that's how I have been living my life and working with people really to bring back that connection. So that the whole peace, love, and unity, we're all in this together. And that is what has really just warmed my heart and actually took me through all of the things in my life up until now. And I'm just so happy and grateful to be able to share what I've learned in my life and help those who maybe have felt disconnected. And our heart, that's our seat of the soul, and we connect with the infinite side of ourselves. And that is the connection, and we all have it. We just have to breathe, ground, and remember how truly connected that we are.
And you're so very right. Writing is very cathartic, especially, and it takes you to the next level of transformation, and it makes such a huge difference. So thank you for sharing that. Marsha, can you tell us how have you grown since writing this chapter? And Marsha she was part of another book last week, which also hit a #1 international bestseller. So she is on a roll, and I'm so glad that you're part of this book too. So tell us, how have you grown since you wrote this chapter?
Hi, everyone. I must thank Seema for inviting me to this group and write this timely book with this amazing title, Love and Peace and Unity, and actually in times of distress and chaos. In 2020, I must say, with the guidance and the wisdom and the group synergy, I completed the chapter on Jinsame, Truth, Goodness, Beauty, which is the optimal state of being, doing, having, in all of us. And using my knowledge and wisdom in feng shui, I break through in another level of sharing my life and my expertise. So thank you all, and so proud to be with all of you today for celebration.
I was going to say that there's two questions that we want to have answered. And one is, what is the significance of the book title, Break Free to Peace, Love, and Unity for you? And what is the one major learning that you've had as you wrote your chapter? And Laura, I'm going to ask you to moderate this, and let's start with you first.
Oh, okay. Break free. That's what comes when I look at the title first. So for me, this was a moment that I have not experienced before because I'm a new author. This is a new experience for me. And I chose to take it on as something where I could just ask my ego self, my lower self, if you will, to kind of get out of the way and just see what wants to come through, what message needs to be spoken, what wants to be told for others to hear. So this was an experience unlike any that I've ever had before, where I felt completely surrendered to that voice, and it came through and so clearly. And it just, I've had this experience before where it comes through, but not quite in this kind of context where I was writing for a book. And it just poured. It just came through so fast. And so I was writing as fast as I could. And as soon as I was done, I thought, oh, wow, that makes sense. Okay, that's pretty cool. So that's when I know it's not me, quote unquote. So with that said, the story that I ended up writing was about the voice, which I believe we all have within us. And it's not, again, that lower ego self, to speak kind of in a Freudian type of language, but it's that higher self. It's that conscious self that we all can tap into, that's available at all times to all of us. And even if we're aware of it, we might consciously tune it out because we don't want to hear what it has to say. So I'm getting better at saying, you know what, life is really not fun when I tune it out. So I want to hear what it has to say. And how can we enrich our own lives? Because I think the only reason I tune it out is if I'm afraid of what it might offer, because I'm afraid of the success, or I'm afraid, as crazy as that sounds, or I'm afraid of the leaps forward that I might have to make. I think you're agreeing with this, Ariel, because we've kind of connected like this too. Yeah. So that was what this book was, or my chapter was about. And for me as an actor to talk about, you know, as I research different characters and I think about how to bring those to life, I'm constantly listening for those quote unquote voices within that I think this character might want to take on. But this was definitely a time where it was a higher calling, it was a higher connection. And so just kind of putting that out there to everybody and saying, are you listening? Is that something you want to take on for yourself? Because life can be so much better when we do. So it's a personal challenge and a public challenge. Yeah. Okay, Ariel, I'm going to hand it over to you, and you're muted. So can you, yeah.
I got it, thank you.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. I resonate so much with what you were saying. Yeah, in terms of, first off, what the theme of the book means for me, break free to peace, love, and unity. Much as the first book, I was part of the first book, To Stand in Your Power, this one was really just the next perfect succession in actually the chapters of my life. And the thing that really that peace, love, and unity brought up for me right away was the break free part in terms of the internal liberation. This is something that I was already giving myself over to at the end of 2019, and then COVID hit. And for me, it felt like a very freaky divine synergy and synchronicity. Not that I would wish the traumatic things on anyone, of course, and not that it's been all smooth sailing and easygoing. In fact, it's been extremely messy. So this interesting parallel in my life, something that I've been working on having peace and love and unity around, is that I come from a background, many decades professionally in community organizing, deep political work, and also activism across the board on a spectrum of issues. And it was not from a peaceful, even loving or unifying place. Although in my communities where I worked, we talked about that a lot. We said that a lot. And it got towards the end of that part of my professional journey, I guess, let's say my career. Really just last year was the first year that I set down the way I'd been doing things in the past. Got to the end of that and realized that I wasn't feeling in alignment with the work, that something had always been amiss. And what I realized in the last year and a half on this deeper journey and setting what I call old paradigm structures and ways of working aside, then a lot of the turmoil came up. And what I realized is that I wasn't still feeling from a place of peace, love, and unity internally. In my own life, dredged up a lot from my past, a very traumatic childhood journey, a little bit, which I talk about in the first chapter. And so how was I going, really sitting in my crap for the last couple of years and year and a half, and considering, okay, I coach alignment, I talk about alignment. How am I going to be the alignment? How am I going to be the paradigm shift? As Upendra also said, right, being the change agent. Instead of just talking about it and telling people that's what we need to do, how do I drop deeper into that? And so when I saw the title of the book and the theme, talk to Seema about it, it just made perfect sense for me. And in terms of my experience writing the chapter in for the book, I basically, that theme told me it was ready to be written, that part of my personal story. And then, as is the process, and I'm getting that you experience this a little too, it really downloads through you. You think you know what you're writing, and then you go back and read it and go, huh, was that me? Because it took on a whole new transcendental level of meaning and opened up a whole new level of awareness for me. And really my, seeing that, again, my breakdown, my spiritual journey, my, personal messiness is really what I also have to then turn around and share with the world and offer as my gifts to letting people know, listen, I understand, but our institutions, our political systems, even our activist world, and all these great things that people aspire to, we have these intentions to do good in the world. We're coming from a paradigm of the problems out there and the solutions out there. And what I'm very clear about now, particularly in my work with leaders and organizations, really sort of being the capstone of my career in that way, is that it's absolutely an internal game. And unless you're doing the internal work to liberate yourself, to be at peace, to be the embodiment, we're not able to bring that out in the world. And what I learned most profoundly from working in community is that we don't have to, it's not even what we say or what we do, it's the energy we're bringing to the table. And folks know when we're out of alignment and there isn't a resonance, and there's resistance there because it doesn't feel genuine. So in my work, not only my coaching, but now I say becoming the fire, I'm really all about the fire, because fire completely destroys the old to the ashes, returns it to pure energy, and then it can be recycled into something new, a higher consciousness. And that's what I'm up to in the world, is really promoting paradigm shift, and ideally an entire new, I call it an alluvial wave or a volcanic eruption of a whole new vision of leadership and beginning each individual with their own embracing of that and liberation, and then bringing that very much to it's all of us together perspective.
Yeah, I so hear you. And I think that's going to be
Yeah.
part of what happens, what creates change globally, because we each have to be aware of that. And then we have to respect that in others, that it doesn't look necessarily like what ours looks like or what we might think theirs is going to look like.
Yeah.
So that's part of that exchange of energy, I think, knowing it's feeling our alignment, as you said. And I'm curious to hear more about what that means to you, but also then breaking free of the paradigm that it all has to look a certain way, because somebody can experience that and it looks maybe messier than we thought it might look, or
Right.
it looks like Una was saying, something completely different than what we had in mind or what we've been told to think.
Yeah. And that's why the previous panel, right before I'm coming on, I was just ringing all my bells. I was like, oh, this is perfect, because yeah, everything that everybody said, and then some. And is, to me, that's absolutely right. I mean, if we are not first showing up and bringing that, and I've had a lot of shame. I don't know if anybody has been speaking to the internal war. That was sort of what my previous question was about, of shame and guilt. Last year was pretty brutal for me, particularly not being involved in politics in the US during such an election cycle, and not being directly hands-on in activism the way I had been for 30 years. And I really have been sitting with really doing my inner work and coming to a place of more profound equanimity and just a loving, compassionate presence. That's going to make a change in the world. It's not the world I come from, right? You push, you grind, you sweat it out. You don't expect to be paid for what you're doing, right? You're doing God's work. You don't take care of yourself. In fact, you don't practice self-care at all. You take yourself down to the studs day in and day out, sometimes 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, particularly in campaign life, to make the world a better place for everybody else. And you forget that you're part of it. In fact, very often, and I do touch on this in my chapter in this book, very often we're actually taught, we're coached, we're raised in the nonprofit, activist, and political worlds that our needs don't matter. And what I'm really excited about, only since the pandemic, by the way, is an honest conversation about what are we doing to ourselves and how do we expect that model to be sustainable for change. And even if it did work in the past perfectly, which honestly has never been my experience, and I'm not saying I'm not compassionate, I'm not extremely proud of the work that I did together with my colleagues and my peers, absolutely. But if to whatever degree that it worked in the past, we've run out of track. There's no way. I can't do it. I've had to literally sit down in the mud. I usually work with fire, not lotus and water, but I've really had to basically stand in my fire and just completely allow myself to burn to the ground before I can even emerge and I suppose reinvent myself in terms of how do I gift to the world? How do I be a servant leader? How do I create my biggest impact? And including myself in the love fest, if that makes sense.
That is so it. I love that, Ariel. And I'm going to pause you for just a moment because I'm cautious of time to make sure that we have enough time.
Oh, yeah.
That is beautiful. I want to transition to Yvonne because that's a great way to say it. Yeah, thank you. Yvonne, welcome to the party here.
Yes. Glad to be
as Ariel was glad to have you. As Ariel was so beautifully saying, we're talking about the fire and transitioning. I'm just curious, what did this book title bring up for you, or what was the draw of this to you?
So I've had an interesting experience about 12 years ago, going through my own dark night of the soul and having some amazing, beautiful spiritual experiences of feeling heaven, feeling a greater sense of love that is available and that I always longed for. And then having to look at how do I stay connected to it and how do I continue to bring it to everybody. And so I've been on this healing journey for myself. And one thing that I learned is that, and there's a lot of talk nowadays about being empath or being empathic, which we all are as human beings to various levels, right? But I had to come to learn and understand, oh, wow, I pick up on other people, and I have these things happening physically to me and I don't even know what's going on. And so it's been a big journey. And this is part of the story that I am writing in this book, where I feel my oldest stepdaughter, who she was the most challenging to me. She was the least accepting to me as a mother, as a stepmother. And I have this moment where I just completely feel like getting on the floor and just sobbing and crying. And I just had to let my body do what it was going to do and allow the emotion and feel it and release it through crying. And then I find out that she had just an intense emotional a moment for herself. And so we had this connection, and we do have this connection with each other as human beings. We have that. And yet it's been this long journey for me to understand what I'm feeling is not always me. So many times I feel other people. I feel the world around me. I feel the stress from this COVID situation right now. I feel the disconnection and how it creates stress for all of us. And so what do I do with it? So yes, it first comes to taking care of myself, getting in that good space, coming back to feeling peace, knowing it's all good, it's okay. I'm going to survive that. And the best way of surviving often is, let's just try to stay in gratitude. Let's try to stay in love and be there for others, and find these good connections with other people who also understand and are maybe on experiencing things deeply emotional. So.
So well said. Yeah. And really tying back to so many things we've said today too, and just your own unique way. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I was thinking, is there one thing that either one of you could add to people that are listening? If you had to give just one piece of advice on how to get to that space, or one thing that you would want them to take away in terms of how you found gratitude or happiness to really tap into that, is there anything you could add and how to do that?
Okay. So I have to be honest with you. Initially I struggled and there was a lot of anxiety. And that's the other part actually in my chapter, because what I experienced also tied back into what has been passed down to me from my ancestors. And my own life experiences were in there as well. So you want to heal your own life experiences. And this is where it's really good to get together with like an intuitive healer, which I, found out what things to do to become an intuitive healer and how to help others and how to assist them. It was a way I had to learn how to do that. And I use it for myself. I use it for others. And just releasing the stress from the body is actually really possible. But I really get into courses, either learn tools and techniques how to do it, or get help from people who have practiced it and learned it, and who can help you with it. I still get my help from people, and I do my work and I go out and help others. but it has to do with the mind. It has to do with releasing memories. It has to do with learning what you're feeling, what you're taking on. And I'm a Reiki master. I use that. I use various things to help me to release the stress that kind of just seems to accumulate and releasing it from my heart space, releasing it from the mind when the mind starts saying, oh my gosh, this is going to happen and it hasn't even happened yet, right? We can get wound up and stressed out about things that haven't even occurred. So it does take a bit of work. You have to put in the effort.
I was thinking back to when I was speaking with Wendy Braun once before, and she was talking about fear, and she loves acronyms, and she said fear is just false evidence appearing real.
Yes.
And I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So Ariel, we have a couple minutes left. Is there anything? Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Is there anything, Ariel, that you want to add to before we jump on?
I do. And I tend to, I think everybody on here, but I definitely tend to dive pretty deeply and travel the darker realms, at least through this period of my life is what I'm finding. So a couple things are practices that I've been taking on, which I would have stayed away from even a couple of years ago. They are practicing gratitude, but radical gratitude, which is actually going into gratitude for the darkness, for the challenges, and for all the catastrophic things and the trauma in my life, and working deeply with that. That's what set me onto a path of finally feeling more peaceful and liberated in 2019 as I started going to a gratitude group. But I learned this technique of radical gratitude, and I show people how to do that. The other thing, and this is a huge one for me last year, because in my household growing up, if I'd surrendered, I would maybe be dead. The art of surrender. And I don't pick resolutions, I pick themes for a year so that I can drop into it and just focus. Everything in my life 365 ties into that theme. And this year, surrender told me it wanted to be addressed. And for that peace and that self-love and with the gratitude is just giving up. Actually, my work is surrendering effort. And surrendering wanting anything to be different than it is, and turning that into a celebratory practice. And a lot of people tell me, why aren't you supposed to wait and celebrate? Like put that at the end of your process. No, actually, I think it's critical to ground in celebration. Of course, a lot of cultures or spiritual practices talk about celebration or accepting what is. And so I really work with like, okay, how can I even celebrate this? So those are the things that I'm working with that are just making a complete sea change in my life. Thank you.
You're absolutely right. I love that. And there's actually scientific evidence that celebrating small wins makes a huge compounding difference over time. So even just, I've noticed for myself, like for a small example, if I get up in the morning and do my 10 sit-ups, I congratulate myself. Yay, I did that. And then it slowly builds more self-confidence and more self-trust that I can take on bigger things, that I can stand up to myself and do what I say I'm going to do, and then that just ripples out into the world. So it sounds really minute, but it's so impactful on a larger scale. Because like Seema was saying, when we put the oxygen mask on ourselves first, we can make that much more of a positive impact if we choose. We can make a choice, positive or negative. So let's make a choice for positive. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. I'm honored to be among such greatness. Thank you, co-authors, for coming into this little discussion with me. And thank you for being part of this book. I'm saying that on behalf of Seema. I think she would say the same thing, but it's an honor to be on this journey with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would just like to take a second to say that Nishal Goswami's chapter is called In Spite of All Odds. And her message was really for all the young women who think they could not achieve what they wanted to because of where they came from or their situation, and all the young girls she wanted to inspire, is that it doesn't matter where you come from. Nisha came from a very small town called Allahabad. And coming out of there, she was able to be a human resource director in an international company. And she was able to train, thousands of people on soft skills and really connect with people one-on-one. And that was her message, that if you have a dream, follow it. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter what your education level is. It doesn't matter what your circumstances is. Just have a dream and follow your passion, follow your heart. You need to follow it. You need to accept it first, acknowledge it, and then the how is going to come. So that is what she wanted to inspire. We are going to hear from Laurel, Una, and Upendra, and Ariel a little bit later. And I'm going to hand this back to you, Laurel, to take us to the next program. I just want to say that authors are going to be attending this throughout the day. So if you have any questions for any one of them, please let us know in the chat, because they are able to see the chat and they will respond to you. So continue staying with us and enjoy. And these are my #1 international best-selling authors for Break Free to Peace, Love, and Unity. Let's give them although we can't hear you, let's give them a big round of applause. I'm so proud to present these wonderful, amazing group of people. Thank you so much for being part of this book. Laurel, over to you.
Thank you, Seema. Thank you, all of the authors. I had the pleasure of getting to know some of you and your stories yesterday for our pre-launch, our launch day celebration. And man, if you're tuning in, you've got some amazing stories to read ahead of you. So I just want to remind everybody again to find the book, go to Amazon. Today it's $1.99. We're doing a special rate just for today so that you can read all of these amazing stories and be inspired to promote more peace, love, and unity in the world.